What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Like always, like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And today I want to go over my review for Star Trek Deep Space Nine Mission Gamma Book 2, The Gray Spirit. That was a lot to say. This book, at first I wasn't too into it. I didn't enjoy it. It took quite a while, but once it picked up, it picked up. Now, it's not an action book, really. There is some action sequences in it, but it's really like a diplomatic, political, emotional type of ride. And for that, it's really good. And I feel like it's probably setting up where book 3 and 4 are going to bring it all in. But man, this book was actually crazy. So what you're going through a few stories. I'll start kind of out of order with what the stories are. But the Defiant with Vaughn and all them, they're basically landing on like this planet of like fish people or whatever to they're just checking the planet out, but then it turns out that these fish people think that Ezri, Dax, and Shar are like these like god type things called the Others, and they're there to help kind of mend the hostilities between the two factions of the fish people, the Wanderers and the Houseborn. And so Shar and Ezri get thrown into that, while Vaughn and the Defiant have to travel off and go find out why this other like group of aliens are wanting to attack and do sort of bad things to these the Yurtini, whatever you want to call them, the fish people. And they're basically like these other group of terrorists, and then the Houseborn are calling the Wanderers terrorists. So there's all this internal conflict going on, that Shar is on one side with the Wanderers and Ezri's on one side with the Houseborn, and they're trying to mend the gap and stop this back and forth battle. And it's all based off of basically a genetic malfunction type thing. The Houseborn think the Wanderers aren't worthy to breed or do whatever they do, how their stuff works. But it turns out Shar discovers that they're basically wrong. He's going over a bunch of their data and stuff that they had that nobody ever went through, and he pretty much tells them that they're compatible together, basically, towards the end of the book. So that's going on there. On Deep Space Nine, you have Kira, who's dealing with the Cardassians are landing to try to make peace with the Bajorns, whatever you say them. And that's Kira and Rose people. So all that's going on. There's a lot of tension on the space station, and Kira's having to navigate all that tension, and she's trying to get the Bajorns to aid the Cardassians. The Cardassians are still recovering from the Dominion War, and they're suffering. They're falling apart. Their race is falling apart, and so the Bajoran Prime Minister, or whoever it is, the leader lady, she don't want to do it. She don't want to help them. She's still feeling hostilities, but somehow Kira ends up kind of getting them to maybe agree to it towards the end. So, try not to spoil too much there. And then you jump to there's Shar's bondmates are still on Deep Space Nine from book 1. And they're going through all their problems because the Andorians, they're no gender. They're two genders all at once. And the way they procreate is at 4 people at a time. So Shar has his 3 bondmates, but they're all worried that Shar's never going to make it back off of the Defiant, exploring the Gamma Quadrant. And sorry for the screaming Godzilla baby, but that's going to be typical. But so here's a big spoiler though. One of Shar's bondmates ends up, offing herself. And so that was pretty sad. It's not where I thought it was going. I thought she was all sick and messed up because she was pregnant. I don't know if I missed the part somehow where she did it to herself, but I thought she was like with child and she died giving birth or something. But then I realized, oh wait, there's no way that's right because of the way they have to breed. So, but that was interesting, to be honest. The way that happened. Anyways, so all that's leading up. There's basically like I said, this book is leading up to get into book 3, and it really it was really a good book. I mean, 10 out of 10 for sure. No, I wouldn't say 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10. A solid 9 out of 10 for sure. So I enjoyed this book very much. I'm real excited to get to book 3 this month at some point. I have Star Wars up next, and I'm going to have to get me I mean, yeah, then I'll have to get me an original series Star Trek or TNG, whatever I have on the list. You know what I mean? I'm probably gonna read something shorter after Star Wars because look at that font, man. This book, it's only 390 pages, but it might as well be like 550. You know, that font is little, just like in the first one. Heather Jarman did it. The flow of the writing didn't mesh well too much with me, but the way she caps the story off is what makes me want to give it a 9 out of 10. But the writing did not flow. I found myself, like I said, I got confused about Thriss's death. I mean, I wasn't able to read like I like to read and retain as much as I usually do. So, but other than that, you know, the book was a definite 9 out of 10. I highly recommend it. The list will always be in the description now on these books for Star Trek when I'm reading off the series. So follow that series. You don't need to even know the Star Trek show to read these books in the fan created series. That's what got me into Star Trek. But now I watch the shows and everything. So, but that's the review today, guys. A solid 9 out of 10. Heather Jarman was the author. I always forget to go over that. We got Star Trek Deep Space Nine Mission Gamma, book 2 of 4. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I have Star Wars X-Wing Wedge's Gamble next. And then I'm probably going to do, I think I have Chain of Attack or Strike Zone for TNG, Next Generation for Star Trek next, the shorter one, because Dwellers of the Crucible has little font too, so I'm going to wait a couple of weeks before I get to that one. Oh, I also have the Greg Cox book I can read. I got too many decisions to make, but I feel like my reading's already slowed down this month, even though I'm only 4 days in and 2 books down, so you know, I'm stressing about that, but we'll see what happens this month. Like always, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Star Trek Deep Space Nine Mission Gamma, book 2 of 4, The Gray Spirit. Solid 9 out of 10 by Heather Jarman. Later.